Title of this speech, Remembrances. Remembrances by Gary Powell.
Thank you very much. Yes, please, I'm gonna leave it. Why are we here? It's the age-old question that has no answer. Religion will tell you that we are God's children, made by his hand. The Creator must be sloppy because not all of us are perfect. You would think that something that could make us perfect, free of disease, defects, etc. Science tells us that we are all creatures of stardust and the cosmic explosion 14 billion years ago. Our planet formed 5 billion years ago as gravity combined with our sun and spun us and the other planets out. First, simple protein chains formed in the deep pressures of the ocean, and then simple cells, then plants, and simple animal-like creatures. Then more complex, giant lizard-type creatures we call dinosaurs, which ruled the planet for 165 million years. Unbelievable amount of time. Then 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit our planet and changed the climate and destroyed 95% of all species that were on this planet. So when did humans come about? It appears that we showed up in Africa 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. Some think we formed language only 50,000 years ago, and yet we find evidence that humans buried each other 100,000 years ago. There are caves in which we find bones carefully placed, covered with dirt, covered with ochre, in both Israel and in Africa. There's a species which is not human. They were not our bones. They do not have our DNA, which are also in a cave in Africa. This cave has a narrow crevice that must be crawled through. It takes several people to pass a body down. People first thought that they dumped bodies down this chute, but then explorers climbed down there and discovered that the bodies were clearly buried. This is a multi-day process. You have to go down there with lights, fire, food to deal with a body. This shows that we must have been able to communicate our need to grieve at least 100,000 years ago. 5 years ago, my mom died from a heart attack. When I first heard the news, I went through the 5 stages of loss: grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. Everyone goes through this, not necessarily at once, not in this order. The service we had to honor her death helped those who knew her reach that final acceptance. Grief. My mom. Can't be her. It's supposed to be my dad. He's got the bad ticker. I saw my mom only 3 months ago. Anger. Who's responsible? How could they give her so much radiation in the 70s that it damaged her heart? I'll sue. How could the doctor have missed these signs? Why wasn't she on an exercise program? Bargaining, the hospitals, the doctors. What about a new heart? What about an artificial heart? We'll pay anything to keep her alive one more day. Depression. I cried. I don't want to get up. And I cried some more. Acceptance. I sat down and wrote a eulogy for her life that told her friends and family why she mattered, why it was okay for her to go now. And of course, I went through it all again. I yelled at the world. I still needed my mom. I had so many things I needed to talk about. Anger. Why do I have to give this speech? Who cares? Bargaining. It could be somebody else. And depression. I could hardly finish writing. And then I finished the speech and I gave it. I sat down and listened to the other people what they had to say about my mom. How do we live with this knowledge? I mostly ignore it. Every day I try to live my life like a dog. If I wake up, it's going to be another good day. I remember to eat, wash myself, and go on a walk. I try to play part of the day, and if I'm tired, I take a nap. Working dogs seem the happiest. They have purpose. I try to play and work and remember that that is a good way to live your life. While I only know Sheila through Toastmasters, I cannot imagine the grief she's going through. To lose a child is one of the greatest things to happen to any parent, to have them predecease you. When I've had several friends die, Each of them, I wrote letters to their family, explaining how I knew them, what I knew of them, what I remembered. Those were terribly hard letters for me to write. I had to deal with my own grief as well as to try to uplift those people as to why these people mattered. So why are we here? We may never know. Perhaps it's to build a spacecraft so we can leave the planet. But the planets in our solar system, Mercury's too hot, Venus is too hot, Mars is inhospitable. Leaving the solar system doesn't look possible. We can't get out of here in time. This is the only planet we've got. So I leave you with this message. Be kind to those you meet. You have no idea what they're going through. Tell the people you know that you love them. You may not get another chance. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.